Hi, I'm josephrlewis, and I write adventures. And today I'd like to talk about random encounter tables. What are they, and how can we write them, or how should we write them? In old school play, this is how we do random encounters. Every time the PCs change location, or they make a noise, or they do something dangerous, we roll a d6. If it's a 1, a random encounter happens. Then we roll a second time on the random encounter table to see what random encounter happens, and usually this is some number of some monster. Then we roll a third time on the reaction table to see how do the monsters react to the players. Are they hostile? Are they friendly? Are they cautious? Are they hungry? Are they sleepy? We need to find out. I personally think that this system is not very good for several reasons. First, there's a 1 in 6 chance of a random encounter happening, which means there's a 5 in 6 chance, or about an 83% chance, that nothing happens. And that's a hard sell for me. That would be hard to tell to a friend, hey, do you want to come over and play a game where 83% of the time nothing happens? So I think that's not very good, and we can do better. Second, mechanically, the GM has to roll 3 times on 2 tables, and I think that's kind of clumsy and has too many pieces, and I think we can streamline that down to 1 roll on 1 table. And third, this system is pretty much only going to give us monster fights, or almost fights, using this system. So I think our games can be more dynamic and more complex. We can have other random events happening. We can have environmental effects. We can have weather and natural disasters. We can have discoveries and clues and other things. And all of this information, I think, should be at the GM's fingertips, easy to go, easy to access, easy to produce, and I think we can put that all in a random encounter table. So here is how I prefer to do random encounters when I'm not strictly adhering to a system's given expectations or rules. Obviously, if I'm doing something very explicit for one system, then I try to stick to that system's expectations. But if I'm doing one of my more complex adventures, maybe that's system agnostic, meant for many systems, then I'll step outside the boundaries with something like a lovely Jade Necropolis, and I'll do what I'm about to describe for you now. So firstly, I just like to make 1 table, and it might be a very large table. And this way the GM can roll whenever they want. They can roll when the PCs move or make a noise. They can roll every 7 minutes of real time. They can roll whenever the GM feels bored. It's up to them. It's their choice. Secondly, the GM should just roll once on my 1 big table. Very simple. It's usually going to be like a d20, something significant. And thirdly, that table is not just going to have monsters, it's also going to have environmental effects and adventure clues and other types of information, and in a couple of different variations for all of those things. So in this way, the players can feel like the environment is very rich, but is also very coherent. And all of that information, again, is right at the GM's fingertips in a single table. So let me give you some examples. Let me be more specific. In a list of 20 options in an encounter table, it is easy for you to scale or control how dangerous your environment is because you can control how many entries out of 20 are going to be dangerous things versus environmental or informative things. So if more of your slots out of your T20 are monster attacks, then it's more dangerous. Very easy to control the danger level of your environment that way. So now let me give you a super basic example of a D20 encounter table for a standard forest setting with just 1 monster, with just wolves, good old-fashioned wolves. So here are my first, let's say 6 options for our forest of wolves. Number 1, 2d6 rabid wolves attack. Hostile, easy to go. Number 2, 1d6 cautious wolves on patrol, hunting. Number 3, 2 big wolves are attacking a manger wolf. What's going on? How do we interact? We can choose. Number 4, there are 2 wolves, mates. They're asleep. Number 5, there's a lost wolf puppy, tameable. Number 6, there's 1 wolf. It's wounded with an arrow with red fletching. A clue? Something? Maybe? I don't know. We help the wolf. We hurt the wolf. It's up to you. So we now have 6 out of our 20 entries already. They're all wolf encounters of live wolves who can do things. We might fight with them, but probably not all of those are going to be fights. So our players can have a variety of encounters. And again, if you're saying, oh, I could do that the old way, I could just roll 2d6 wolves and then roll for the reaction, and I put hostile and whatever together. Yes, but I'm saying why bother making 2 rolls when I can just do 1? Most of these things aren't going to happen over and over again, so let's make it simpler for the GM, have them roll once, and give them some thematic options right there on the table. We're the writers, after all. Let's write for them. Let's give them some good options. All right, let's do some more options for our D20 list. We only have 6. So for the next 6 options, we're going to do some atmospheric items and clues that are still wolf-related. So we're up to number 7, a dead wolf in a rusty bear trap. Number 8, 2 dead wolves in a pit trap. So we're getting a sense that people are hunting the wolves. Number 9, multiple wolves are howling off in the distance from the east, which is, we can say parenthetically, from Area 13, because there is a wolf den over there, maybe. We look at the ground. Multiple wolf tracks are heading west to Area 14, because maybe there's another wolf den over there. Interesting. Could lead us in different directions. Next up, tufts of fur and a trail of blood heading south to Area 15. Maybe that's the secret wolf burial ground where they go off to die when they're terribly wounded. I don't know. Interesting clue. And lastly, a bloody wolf's head on a stake. Again, signs of those hunters. So with these 6 options, we can be led off into different directions. We are seeing sounds and signs of wolf activity, but we're not interacting with wolves. We're also seeing signs and activity of wolf hunting. So we know that the people around here are fighting with the wolves, are engaging with the wolves. Again, these are just our players are moving through the space. They can roll on these things. These are not violent encounters, but it's more interesting than the 5 out of 6, nothing happens. This is signs and sounds of activity. It makes the setting feel more alive and interesting, and it can direct the players to points of interest. All right, we have 12 out of our 20 entries. Let's keep going. Let's add some environmental dangers and effects, things that could be dangerous to the players, that will affect them, but are not monster encounters, strictly speaking. So some simple things. A rotten branch falls from above, save dex or d6 damage. Step in a rusty bear trap. We've established that there are traps around. You need to make a wisdom check or something to notice that on the ground, or 2d6 damage. You fall in a camouflaged pit trap. Very bad. Again, we've talked about pit traps before. Again, make a wisdom check or something to notice it, or you fall in and 2d6 damage. Sudden rainfall quenches fires, puts out torches. Similarly, gust of wind blows out torches and fires. Again, this is good for something like Shadowdark, where the light matters or is environmentally important. And lastly, a thick fog sets in. We need to roll for wisdom, or we get lost in the fog for 1d6 hours. So that's 6 things that can put the players in danger. They have to dodge and evade. They can engage. They can also look at that trap. They can look at the pit trap or the bear trap, and they can get that information. So if they didn't see the wolves, dead wolves in those traps, they are themselves at danger, but they can find the traps this way. So the traps are showing up in multiple places. Again, it reveals that the people are interacting with the wolves. These put the players at risk without having to have a fight. So it's brief, but it's exciting, and it's thematic, and it's coherent. Again, wolves, danger, forest. So we're up to 18 entries of our D20 list. Pretty simple, straightforward stuff. Let's round it out with a couple of opportunities to get things. So for our last 2 entries on this D20 list of our Forest of Wolves, I have a dead hunter, dead from a wolf attack, of course, but you can loot from the body bow, arrows, and daggers, hunting gear, essentially, and a dead merchant, again, killed by wolves, but he has a fancy hat and 17 gold pieces, or something more interesting. I'm sure you can do better. But here we have our full list of 20. It didn't take me very long to come up with, but it is coherent, it's thematic, it allows the GM to continually throw things at the players to make the forest feel alive as the players are saying, all right, let's go from hex A to hex B, or if they're saying, let's travel the 4 hours from location A to location B, however your system works. But this gives the GM more tools right at their fingertips. It's all in one page, it's all in one list, and instead of just saying, here's 2d6 wolves, figure out what to do with it. They're more dynamic and diverse and interesting entries for them to engage with. And of course, the GM is probably going to riff on these things and modify them in some way to make them their own, more stylistically. But they're given a lot of prompts. Here we're giving them 20 different prompts for how to bring this forest alive, how to make them, the players feel aware of the danger of the wolves, some of the locations of interest, the interactions of the local people with the wolves, with all these traps and the spikes. So we're giving the GM a lot to work with just one resource, a single random encounter table. So that's my advice for this week. When it doesn't clash too much with your system of interest or the way you're expected to write for things, I encourage you to make a longer, richer table of random encounters that offers, in addition to monster fights, environmental dangers, atmospheric events, and even possibilities for looting. to give your players a richer experience in your spaces. After all, you're the writer. You're writing this adventure. Make it rich and interesting and unique. Make it specific. Convey information about your setting in the random encounter table. I think it's a great place for you to leverage a resource that's going to come up again and again through play. Use that table. Use that table for whatever it is you want to convey to the players and to create whatever kind of experience you want at the table. So that's my advice for this week. Good luck out there.